if you've been following along on my writing journey slash, I guess, reading journey too. I posted a video in January talking about the books that I wanted to read for the month, and one of them was Little Thieves. Hadn't read it yet. Was really slow kind of getting into it, and I don't think that's anything to do with the book and was everything to do with my mental state going into the year, but I finally finished it. I stayed up till 3 a.m. but it was worth it, I think. I'm currently reading the sequel, Painted Devils. I'm on page 162. And it's all I want to do. All I want to do is read this book, and this has reminded me of how I would like my readers to feel when they read my Project Stargazer. Something that I think Owen does really well is create really well-rounded, genuine, complex characters. The female protagonist, Vanya, of both the first book and this second installment as well, is very much morally gray. She does what she needs to do to survive. She's like a very complex, very interesting character, and that's something that I have been struggling to do with my own characters. I feel like they almost feel two-dimensional, whereas I feel like Owen's characters exist in 4 dimensions in many cases. They're constantly surprising you, and yet everything that they do feels so perfectly on brand for them, and I don't feel that way with my own characters. So what I decided to do was a little exercise. I sat down and I started to make a list of the traits that I associate with the 2 main characters. So we have Vanya and we have Emmerich. So I took my whiteboard, I wrote down both the characters' names and like 6 or 7 of their main qualities, and it's a good mix of both what I would consider like positive and negative attributes that society would consider to be both of those things, or either of those things. I don't know what I'm saying now. And I think they are both such a great blend of positive and negative traits, and so I'm realizing the obstacle that I was running into in my own writing is giving my characters too many of one, to the point where they feel unbalanced, where they either feel like a caricature of a villain or a caricature of a hero, and I do not want to write a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu. So I've decided I'm going to take my own characters and I'm going to try to figure out what traits I think each of them possess, and I'm going to see how many are positive and how many are negative. So we'll start with Isabel. For Isabel right now, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 traits that I've written down are honestly an interesting mix. So the first thing is sarcastic. I don't know if that's really a trait, but that is very much a part of her character. She is very sassy and sarcastic, and that is a defense mechanism, of course. Second trait is that she is avoidant. This comes from like attachment theory, so she is definitely avoidantly attached. Nestor, the male protagonist, is securely attached, and Lucy, our other female main character, she has disorganized attachment, so she's a little bit avoidant, a little bit anxious. Anyway, that's an aside. But Isabel is sarcastic, avoidant, funny, which can be like a good thing and a bad thing. She uses humor as a defense mechanism. She's competent slash smart. She's technically very savvy. She's a little lazy though. She's dishonest, which again, that's a bad one. It's a negative one, but she comes by it honestly. Just kind of seems counterintuitive, but it works. She's loving, and she's also outspoken. Slash, along with loving, she's also like very justice oriented. I don't know how else to say that, but she cares about keeping people safe. Okay, and for Nestor, I only have 3 right now, and I haven't done this exercise for Lucy yet. Sorry girl, I'll get to you eventually. But under Nestor's name, I have contemplative, also sarcastic, which they get along in that way, or rather that's where they kind of butt heads, but it's because they're 2 alike. I have that he's tired. I don't know if that really counts as a trait, but it is very true for him. Other traits of his, it's kind of hard. I feel like, it's gonna say thoughtful, but contemplative is thoughtful. He is harder to pin down. He is quiet though, I will say. At least I think. In the current version, in the draft 1 version of him, is quiet. I don't know if that's gonna be true for subsequent drafts, but at least for now, that's accurate. What else? What are his other traits? It's like I don't even know my people at all. I don't. That's part of the problem. But I swear I have something in my handy dandy notes app. I'm sure I do. Let me look him up. This shouldn't be this hard also. I've been reading this book for like a while now. I should know this by now, but I don't. Okay. This is the document that I open when I'm writing on public transportation, because I can't just haul my laptop out. You get it. Okay, Nestor. I don't know how to explain this as a trait, but he prefers his own company. Like, he's used to being by himself. Oh yeah, Isabel's also hot-headed. That's the other one. She just sounds like a treat, but I swear she's lovely. She's my baby. Charming. There we go. Charming, quick-witted, and faithful, which is interesting. I can't remember, you know what, actually, I'm not even gonna say anything about that because that's probably major spoilers. So let's not do that. Anyway, that I think is at least a start. We'll call it a start. So this is my little whiteboard. It's just from Amazon, but I took both of my characters next to each other and then listed the traits that I associate with both of them. And I'm probably going to end up integrating this into my actual Word doc, which is, I'm pointing over here because my desk is over here, but I'm going to have to integrate it into my draft. But what I thought might be fun, and I'm making this all up as I go, so I hope you're enjoying. I don't know if this is actually going to work, but we're going to try. I'm thinking, here, let me move you a little bit. I'm thinking, no, I shouldn't have moved you. I shouldn't have moved you. I can figure out what the connection points are between each of these traits. You know what? I'm gonna point you at my board instead, because that's probably easier. So let's do that. Can you see that? We'll try. Okay, so Isabel's sarcasm, the sarcastic meets with sarcastic, and this gives us banter, which is important. The competent / smart and quick-witted is a good point of connection, and then this loving / justice-oriented and faithful is also a good point of connection. That said, I'm using like a straight line for any of the ones that are like natural connection points, and then I'm going to use a dotted line for anything that is going to create tension in their relationship, lowercase r relationship. So outspoken doesn't really gel with quiet. That's a sort of an opposite trait there. Faithful and avoidant also kind of are sort of at odds with one another. This one's kind of twofold, kind of works for both. Where else? Quick-witted, I'm gonna go with funny is gonna also kind of vibe with quick-witted. So I'll attach that too. Which one does not have a tether? Okay, contemplative. Hot-headed, I'm gonna call her like impulsive as well, actually, because that's really, I think, what I mean. She's not really angry, but she is like, she doesn't think things through all the way. He's very contemplative, so that is gonna be an interesting point of tension. I'm making my lines run in a weird way now. I have that. Dishonest is the only thing that doesn't have a connection right now. So, and charming and tired. Do those really mesh? Maybe they're just completely separate. They're not really opposite, but they're just different. Maybe he's also kind of dishonest, but in a different way. Like, he's dishonest as a defense mechanism, and she's dishonest as a form of offense, which is also kind of a form of defense. I don't know. Okay, but I think that kind of generally creates some interesting tension for them. So the areas in which they're alike, actually, I'm gonna bring you back to me now. Okay, so I'm gonna put it on screen just because I'm trying to get an angle of my board when it looks like this. Well, actually, that's better than I thought it was gonna be. All right, welcome to my class. The solid lines denote areas of connection or commonality between the two of them. So they're both sarcastic, obviously. They both have good senses of humor. He's quick-witted, she's funny. They're both smart. Again, quick-witted, she's competent / smart. They're both, oh yeah, I didn't actually do the dotted line for this one, but they're both a little dishonest, but in different aspects. He would not consider himself dishonest, and she wouldn't say that she's dishonest, but she does think she is. She didn't tell anybody that, but she does feel that way. He doesn't see it that way at all. It's like an interesting part of his character. Anyway, loving / justice oriented and faithful, those kind of gel. The ones that don't gel as much are the hot-headed / impulsive and contemplative, the avoidant and faithful, and outspoken and quiet. And I guess tired is just like on its own, but she's also kind of tired. It just doesn't feel like the most interesting of her qualities. Nestor is very much a let's wait, assess the situation, see what's happening, and then act. Isabel is very much a shoot first, ask questions later kind of person. She doesn't like that she is that way, but she is that way. And I'm hoping that keeping a board like this will help me to remember some of the key traits in my main characters, because you would think that since I made them up, I would understand them and I would have a lot of the details about who they are as people sorted out, But the truth is, I just don't. This is my first real foray into writing my own characters that have any sort of depth, any sort of substance. Most of the characters that I've written that have depth and substance already have that because they were created by somebody else. I wrote a lot of fan fiction in my time, and I think fan fiction is a fantastic arena for learning the art of storytelling. Experiment with rich, diverse, interesting characters, stories, worlds. You get to do a lot. Let's use a house metaphor, analogy, whatever. When you're writing fan fiction, you are essentially moving into a house. You get to do the decorating, doing some minor renovations, but mostly you're decorating. You're doing interior design. You're moving some things around, but you have a brief from the client. You know what they're expecting. When you're writing the story, you are quite literally buying the land and then building a house on it from the ground up. You can't focus on changing out the switch plates before you have walls, or electric for that matter. So it can be really difficult to even know what the final picture is going to look like, or like how the component pieces are going to fit together to make this house. But by the end of it, you've done something really hard. You built a house. And I think when it comes to decorating, when it comes to that last stage, which I'm going to call like maybe draft 5 or 6 of my story, when it is a lot of that redecorating or, you know, moving around in the world that I've already built, I think I'll feel a little bit more excited about it. But for right now, I mean, I've never built a house before. I've never written a full book that has, like I said, like the substance, the complexity, etc. that I hope this one has. And it's also fantasy. Fantasy is not an easy genre to start in, so I'm definitely biting off maybe more than I can chew, but I've gone off on several tangents at this point. But basically, the takeaway that I learned that I want to tell you about, because it helped me a lot, is reading books that have really good character building, character development, character exposition, etc., etc. Characters that feel like real people will help your writing. It's inspired me to take more seriously the process of character building and honor it as a process and not, you know, just an instantaneous thing. Because Isabel and Nestor have changed so much since I first started writing them, I guess, like eight months ago. Maybe it's more than that. It's probably like 10 months ago. I've been writing these characters for a long time and I still don't feel like I know them. But then I remembered I haven't even known them for a year. And a lot of people who I haven't known for a year yet are wonderfully complex and interesting and cool, but I didn't know everything that there was to know about them after like 8 months. So I don't know why I'm being so hard on myself. Reading is good for your brain and it's good for your writing. And I am so in love with this series. So if you have not read Little Thieves, which I'll put here, or Painted Devils, which is the sequel, I highly recommend it, especially if you're a fantasy reader. It is probably one of my favorite YA fantasy books that I've read in the last 10 years, I'd say. So it's definitely up there. The first one got a 5-star from me. This one is on track to be a 5-star, but like I said, I'm not far enough into it yet to say definitively what my final ranking will be. But yeah, writing's hard. Sometimes reading is hard when you work a full-time job, but there is something really, really magical about a well-told story. And Margaret Owen, shout out to you, because this has motivated me to keep working on mine. So if you are also in the trenches of writer's block, or you're feeling overwhelmed by the process, it is overwhelming sometimes. I'm right there with you. I get it. Anyway, I am gonna go finish reading this book. Well, I'm not gonna finish it tonight. I don't think I have another 3 a.m. day in me, but I'm gonna go read this and maybe do some writing. I don't know. Sometimes writing is chaotic. The process is generally very chaotic. Even if you are very organized, I know that's the case for me. I feel very chaotic about my creative process, but that's okay because it's my process and it doesn't need to make sense to anyone but me. So I hope your projects are going well. I hope the writing is not giving you too much grief, because I know it's probably giving you a little bit if you're watching this video, if the title resonated with you, but wishing you all the best. If you've made it this far, comment this emoji in the comment section down below. This is my starting point, but I got a long way to go. For now, that's all she wrote, but I'll catch you guys in the next one.